I'm Debari Vedi, clinical psychologist. I wanted to really talk about the whole taboo around divorce and this compulsion. I would not call it less than a compulsion from inside an individual and from the external sources, the complete society in a way, to live in a marital relationship which is dead, not just an abusive relationship but even dead relationships. I was shocked when once I had come to know from one of my colleagues that even in places like Delhi, which is the cosmopolitan city, the nation's capital, and so-called the most modern world, here even when a couple goes for marital counseling, which is part of the legal process, the girl is asked to adjust and almost given ज्ञान कि शादी टूटनी नहीं चाहिए. And on the other side, I would even like to talk about this pressure on the men that they cannot give a divorce because the best. Initially, it was the dowry case filed against the men if they would try to divorce the female. Now it is the whole issue of emotional abuse and a big money that the female demands for her maintenance. Interestingly, we are all talking about the idea of how females should become independent, work for themselves, do this, do that, but we still think that the female who quits work after marriage out of her own choice has complete right to demand for maintenance from the man and blackmail him for basically forcing him to stay together. We are not completely blaming the female. This is part of the culture. These are all techniques which are working very well in the society because ultimately there's a fear of the idea that the marriages will break. So why is there such an intense fear around the idea that the marriages will break? Interestingly, the marriages that happen are many. I've got a lot of clients which come to me with this concept that मैं 30 साल का होने वाला हूँ, शादी नहीं हो रही, मैं इतने साल का होने वाला, शादी नहीं हो रही. There's so much of social pressure to get married. So interestingly, we are not marrying the other person for any sort of love or a need for partnership. We are marrying the person because there needs to be a social status of being married. It is a peer pressure to get married and have that social pressure that you have to be married. The criteria which, interestingly, when I tried to find a girl from my own brother, and interestingly, although being a younger sister, but too much enthusiastically looking through all the profiles that would come to me, I would sometimes sit and wonder, मैं क्या ढूंढ रही हूँ? Like a specific height, does that assure anything? What am I looking at? Even the financial background, even the educational background, what am I looking at? we are trying to see things practically, which were actually practically, which things were even initially still functionable. I think initially there was a criteria of getting people married into the same culture. There was a very genuine reason behind it. If I come from a specific culture, I marry a guy from a very specific culture. मेरी दुनिया उतनी ही सीमित रही है, उसकी दुनिया उतनी ही सीमित रही है. Our expectations out of each other would be almost on a similar line. Whereas fact of today, I am basically a Sikh. Not brought up any close to people of my community too much. Not that zero, but not too much. My parents, my father, we are so-called the generation of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, so little bit what I was taught in Sikhism at home was about his preachings. But interestingly, my Dadaji would say that Shankrant ke din non-veg zarur khana chahiye, pura mahina milta hai. So brought up in that culture. My upbringing has been from different parts of our country, including Pune, Bombay, Delhi. I think I should majorly stick with them because that was my childhood. After that, there's a lot more. But then what culture do I have? My parents came from, again, different backgrounds. So what is ultimately my background? Do I have a hardcore thinking of what on an average any other Sikh have? Or the other way around. So initially that thinking did make sense. Now it doesn't. Now initially even the concept of marriage was female was completely dependent on the man. The whole concept of children being the only purpose of marriage was getting a child, a heir to the family, continuation of the generation. How many girls today want to have a child only because of that reason? हमें क्या ये डर लगता है कि हमारी लीग ही खत्म हो चुकी है एक तरह से. And interestingly, childbirth was important at that time as the most core important thing at that time. People would have multiple children because we ultimately are a people of in the old time we were farmers, so we needed a lot of our kids to basically take care of our farms. We basically, if we were landowners, so land का देखभाल करने के लिए चाहिए. We were basically even if we fought wars, it was the number of people who would fight it for us. Now in today's generation, what today I can very clearly talk about how even many highly read people are saying that we are getting overpopulated. Our resources as a country are reducing and nobody is taking care of that. We really need less people. We have to stop producing so many kids. We have to get some control on our population, or in the coming times it will be a pathetic situation for everybody of us. None of us would be saved because resources कम है. अगर resources चीजें ही कम हैं, हम कहाँ से खुद के लिए ले आएंगे? It will not happen. The competition will be dirty. It will be the survival of the fittest. People would harm each other. It's going to be a dirty world. we have to think of the idea that we have to reduce population. It is not that we need a lot of people. So I think that thing is anyway dying off. Why many kids? But the society is still pushing you towards that. Companionship, which should be one of the needs of marriage, is not even talked about. So the whole purpose of marriage, the whole concept of marriage is seemingly now becoming so flawed that there's whole chaos around. But there is still a pressure, including from the political leaders, including from the higher end society people, that the marriages shouldn't be broken. I'm reminded of this movie Dil Dhadkne Do, where that interesting dialogue of Priyanka's mother-in-law says कि मतलब ये खिलाता नहीं है पिलाता नहीं है, the father's question was scotch खेलता है ये खेलता है, why do you have issue with your man? The whole nobody is talking about the concept of need for companionship, but is just talking about that the man just should survive. अगर वो बेसिक कम से कम तुम्हें पीट नहीं रहा है तब तक शादियां चलनी चाहिए, which is so much ingrained even in the females that even the well-educated people, the well-read females, have the same thinking. And this is pulling down our society as a whole. Kids from broken families are broken. You can't use the child as a pawn to basically get what you want. Females are doing that. Seeing abuses day in and day out, the kids have a normalcy around abuse. It is becoming too difficult. As a psychologist, sometimes we really feel deadlocked over there. We don't need abusive marriages to survive. It's better to break it even not for your child. The child doesn't need parents fighting with one another. उनके सामने करो ना करो, नेगेटिविटी घर में रहती है. Some people say हम उसके सामने नहीं लड़ते हैं. Please, they know what is happening in the house. There's so much of distress around in the house. They can sense it. They don't know who's the authority. They don't know what to do. They don't know whom to please. They don't know where to go. It hampers a child. So please work. We don't need this dead marriages. And I don't know why there's so much of a political pressure, there's so much of a social pressure to just make them survive. I am surely not for it.